Hello and welcome back to the channel and welcome to Stout season. Now, to be fair, Stout season has been upon us for a while, but it has been unseasonably mild here in the UK this winter. Well, autumn still, I guess, but we're in Stout season and it's time to embrace that with another one from the new Blue Monkey craft range. So today we'll be looking at this, a 7% stout called Mexican Mole Stout. Now, I have to say, they haven't put the word imperial on this, and well, I'm kind of glad about it because 7%'s a little on the tame side for a proper imperial stout, but at the same time, 7% stouts for me might actually be, well, just that beautiful midpoint that a lot of people seem to ignore. So holy moly guacamole, let's get into it then, shall we? First up, here is a quick look at the can. Standard kind of new Blue Monkey craft style with the gorilla on it having a big old sip of something and a heap of info on the back as usual, which we'll get into a little bit later. And just before I crack the lid on this, if you're thinking, Tom, you've not told us anything about it, what is a Mexican mole stout? Well, this is for me and you to find out, because to be honest, I don't know. Little lively. In the glass then, it is properly dark. It's got a solid light toffee coloured head on it, which given the ABV I'm surprised is still sticking around as strongly as it is. If I hold this up to the light, nope, nothing bleeding through whatsoever. That is a proper solid pitch black stout. But yeah, visually it's doing the business. So aromas, there's something more to this. This is not just a run-of-the-mill strong stout. This is fresh, spicy, maybe even a bit of cinnamon in there. It's roasty, a bit chocolatey, of course, but it's got a real, to be honest, unusual character on the nose in that it's just got this big, almost breathy spiced palate. It's not one thing. It's just, yeah, a proper mishmash of very high aromatics. It's it's mineral forward. I say nice, rich cacao nib, kind of a chocolate vibe. And as this opens up a bit, whilst that mixed spice aroma is still present, it's definitely a bit of chili. Feels like it's bringing its way to the front. So I'm quite excited for this. Let's give it a go. Cheers. Wow. Oh, that's a kick. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So it's big, rich, luscious, and packs one hell of a fiery punch. It's definitely chili. I've got no doubts about it. But what is interesting is that chili sensation, you don't really get the chili flavour. You don't get the burning in your cheeks, on your tongue, like you would with, well, eating something that was chili heavy. But at the back of the throat, there's just, it pops off. It has to be said. It is warming. It is roasty. On a cold winter's day, that is going to do you some good. Wow. It's a very complex flavour set in there. Very hard to distinguish individual notes as a entire experience. It leaves a unsweetened fiery chocolate sensation, I guess. It's yeah, very different, and to be honest, pretty impressive. Right then, let's do a top to bottom taste test to try and work out what on earth is going on here, because this is not your normal stout, I think is fair to say. So initially, there is a light chili tingling on the lips and on the front of the tongue. It's not intense, there's just a suggestion, a nudge of something, just with a little heat, almost like you get from drinking a much higher ABV. I'm not going to say beer necessarily, but a high ABV wine or a liqueur of some sort. That kind of just that alcohol burn that you can get on the lips with a higher ABV drink. You kind of get that from this, but I don't think it's the ABV. I think it's the chili. Second phase, little roasty, quite subtle. Again, a tiny bit of heat across the tongue. To be honest, I said there wasn't much heat around the mouth. It's not true. It's just it's so subtle compared to what happens later on that you kind of don't see it at first. And on the swallow, everything opens up. There's a light floralness, maybe some other spices in there. That rich cacao nib. It's really dark, non-sweetened chocolate, this, and despite that, it's not all too bitter. There is a bit of a bitterness at the back end. It's undeniably, well, roasty, stout bitterness like you would expect, but it's not harsh, as I thought it might be given how unsweet this is. And then, at the end, you get left with light coffee, dark chocolate, that fiery chili. Well, it's coating your mouth now at this point for me. But I have just noticed, and actually, at the front of the tongue, it is quite sweet. So to say this is not a sweet beer would be not quite right, but it doesn't stay that way. Normally, sweet beers kind of kick in a bit further back and leave your mouth, well, just over-sweetened and a bit This doesn't. This gives you a nice sweetness up front and then rips it away with that dark chocolate and chili intensity that's, well, unlike pretty much anything else I've ever drank, if I'm honest. Right then, let's take a look at the can. So, on the front of the can, Blue Monkey award-winning craft brewery Mexican Mole Stout at 7%, unfiltered and unfined. As always, it says drink fresh, keep cold and recycle on the side. And then it says Mexican Mole Stout, the hops are Magnum, it's brewed at their brewery in Nottingham. And the ingredients are water, malt, wheat, oats. We didn't talk about the mouthfeel on this actually, and we should have done because it's punching slightly above its ABV. It's not the thickest, most lush beer, but it is 7%. And I nearly said only 7% because that's going to sound a bit odd to some people. But a 5% stout very rarely gets anywhere near the body on this. It's not as thick and indulgent as a huge impy, but it's not meant to be, and it just has a nice bit of extra looks that maybe would pitch it at kind of 1.5% higher ABV than this actually is. It's also obviously got hops, which as we already said are Magnum, yeast, cacao nib, cinnamon. That was that other spice that's in there that you're getting on the aroma. Vanilla and smoked chilies. Well, well, well. Now, I would have liked them to put a bit more info on this can about what they kind of, why the name, what is a mole. I mean, I've looked it up online. Mole seems to be a very broad term for, well, mainly food sources, to be honest, in Mexican cuisine, but they often do have chilies, cinnamon, vanilla, as this does. But yeah, so I assume that's the basis, but maybe there's another explanation I don't yet know about. But wow. As I said at the start of this video, for me, the 7%-ish stout is something that a lot of breweries seem to avoid. They either go for more sessionable 4.5, 5, 5.5 options, or they go all out 8, 9, 10, 11, 12+% impies. And there is something about a stout at this level that just does something the others simply can't. And it is a bit difficult for me to put my finger on. It's got a huge, complex sipping quality to it that you also don't have to think too much about how quickly you're drinking it. And I think that is what I really appreciate about them. An imperial stout is a fantastic thing, but this beer would be no better off by being nearly double the ABV. There is no chance. That, as something different, as a package, if you like adventurous flavours and a bit of heat, is absolutely spot on. And to be honest, I think that is all I've got to say about it. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already subscribed, if you will be so kind, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.